I'll be using a small pitcher and for steaming, and I'll be using a big pitcher for pouring. And I'll explain that later, right? So today I'm going to use a IKEA cup, which is 6 ounce, approximately around 180 ml, which is the cafe standard. Please. Is it showing? After that,
Should explain that we're trying a 2-camera setup here, and Dennis is going to try and switch cameras. He's got a really nice SLR for the latte art.
Yeah, I'm pulling a shot right now. I'm still waiting for my shot to run.
Dennis, you want to try your SLR camera and make sure that works? We can see the...
Yeah, it's already working on air right now.
At some point, will there also be a discussion on suggestions for types of milk to use? Like, for example, one recommendation that came from a barista at a local coffee shop here was to use milk that was only pasteurized by heating to 65 degrees Celsius and not 120 degrees, as a lot of milks in Japan are.
That's a really interesting suggestion. I mean, for me, that's a flavor thing. I used to use raw milk, and when that was available, and there's some countries where you can get micro-filtered milk, and micro-filtered milk, I think, makes really good drinks. What they do is they separate the milk solids from the whey, and then they fully pasteurize the whey, but the milk solids stay raw. And then they mix them afterwards. And that's been my favorite for flavor. I stopped doing raw milk because of digestion issues. Let's just leave it vague there. So in America, after I visited the farm that made them, this is Strauss Family Creamery, even though they were supposed to be super good and organic, I didn't really feel that their hygiene was great. So I'm not going to recommend that. I don't know about pasteurizing at 25 degrees. I've never heard of that. If that exists, that's cool. 65.
Celsius.
65. I mean, you could buy raw milk and sous vide it at 65 for, I guess, an hour, and that would pasteurize it. So I don't see why that isn't possible. If you have access to that, I think that's really cool.
Okay, I had just made, I'm not sure whether you guys catch it. It's on the can proof right now. Now, the reason why there are so many, I started off, I was a disbeliever. I do not believe that, I used to not believe that transferring milk. I used to use some size like this, a pitcher like this, 400 ml, 350 to do every hour. So until one day I was struggling to make some complex pattern. Because when it's complex pattern with 6 ounces of cup, I believe you require more space. So with these small pitchers, that means you can't really tilt down a lot. That means the cup always need to fill up, let's say 40% fill or 50% fill. Then only it can start making latte art with these small pitchers. Now, with transferring, I transfer it into small into big one. I managed to tilt down with the same volume. I managed to tilt down much more. That means I can able to start my latte art pouring at, let's say, 25% cup fill, or let's say 30% cup fill. With this one, I can only tilt down so much that the cup always require me to fill up until 50% or 40%. Then only I can start making latte art. So that's why I do transfer, and I realized that after I transfer, my latte art is significantly easier to pour. I can start early. I can pour more stacks of tulip. I can have more space, right? Because I can extend with tilting down. I can extend easily with the spout and the coffee surface. So that's the whole idea.
Doesn't that beg the question, why not just heat in the larger jug?
Yep, I get that question a lot as well. So you can see now, both are different diameters, right? Both are different diameters. Let's say the smaller one, obviously, smaller diameter, bigger diameter, bigger diameter. This is bigger one, right? 600 ml. And this is much bigger one, 1 liter diameter. So if you want to have a smooth, if you want to pour a nice latte art, you need to have a very silky, smooth milk, textured milk. Now, if you steam and froth with this one, there's a part we call swirl. Right after you introduce aerating the foam into the milk, there's a part we call swirl. Swirl is the part that you need to smoothen the milk, right? By running around the milk, running around in the pitcher. Now, with smaller diameter, you're able to run more, just like car, right? If you have a smaller diameter, you're able to run much more RPM. It produces much more smoother milk. If you try on the bigger diameter, it will run less, it will swirl less RPM. But on some case, if you want to have steam 2 servings at the same time, it works. But if you want to steam 1 single serving in a bigger jug, then you have trouble on making a swirl, and you end up a lot of bubbles on rough surface on the milk texture. So when you pour out, it will not be as smooth as in if you texture the milk or you steam the milk in a smaller diameter.
So my experience.
So that's the whole sense of it.
Sorry.
I did try. I did think about this question as well. I did try both. I still prefer to steam in a smaller pitcher because it runs much more, it swirls much more RPM in compare of the bigger jug.
I've been practicing for 2 weeks because I hate having to clean up 2 things. I live in a hotel room, so I don't have good cleaning facilities. And I've been trying to steam in the 600 ml jug, and the problem I encounter is just the milk is shallower. And
Yes.
So because it's shallower and it's going up like this, it's much more likely to get a like loud big bubble disaster with it. So sometimes I'm able to use the big one and get good milk, but I find it's really easy to make a mistake and end up with big bubbles. So unfortunately, he's absolutely right. I mean, for me, I've always had trouble making complex designs because the way I use the small jug, I just have like 3 seconds to make the art. But with the bigger one, I can actually stop and pour and stop and pour, and I can make much fancier stuff. So yeah, sadly, more washing up in the morning, he's right, it works better.
Yeah, I understand that it doesn't make sense in commercial world, but it's okay if you have a relaxed environment, or it's okay if you have a less hectic environment, that it's okay to transfer, right? So that's number one. The most asked question is why do we transfer? Why do I transfer? That's number one question. I hope that it helps you. There's a question. You read that for me? Okay. In the chat.
Yeah, I just ask it, just recommended, what setting do you have for milliliters per second and steam temperature?
Okay, it depends on what kind of cup are you pouring in, right? For me, I always pour in 6-ounce cup. Maximum is 7-ounce cup. So for me, the flow rate 1.4 to 1.6 just works fine. 1.4 ml per second just works fine. And
So Dennis has a double XL, just to make that clear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
his
double
flow
XL.
rate's higher. That's going to correspond to a sort of 1.0 to 1.2 on the other machines. I think better is
try-
pressure, about 3 bar of pressure, I think is what we're aiming for.
Okay. I think try something even weaker. Some other home machines, but still works for me. Still works for me. It took like 45 seconds to steam a 6-ounce of cup of milk. Around this like 180 ml of milk. Still works for me. It took 45 seconds. Some home machine, some very small home machine. Right. So I tried on something else, which is way too fast. It took like 8 seconds, 9 seconds, sometimes less than 8 seconds, 7 seconds. It still worked for me, but it's just way too. I still prefer it's like in the range of 10 to 15 seconds. It's just nice, right? So, but in commercial world, in cafe environment, they would prefer something faster. In catering, they would prefer something less than 8 seconds. But it really depends on your experience, right? So it doesn't mean that the faster it is better. It doesn't mean the slower it is better. Once I get into 15 seconds range, I can't really go back in 45 seconds. It's like way too wasting time for me, right? So I'm not comfortable going back into 7 seconds mark as well. It's way too fast, way too quick, and it's too fast for me for that. So 10 to 15 seconds, 18 seconds, just nice to me.
Yeah, most people here don't have a double XL, so they're looking at usually, I'd say about 30 seconds. If they're on
30
220,
seconds?
if they're on a 220 machine, that's where they are, about 30 seconds, and about
Okay.
40, 42 seconds if they're on a 110 machine. Does that correspond with you guys' experience?
Yeah, it depends how much. If I'm doing a cappuccino with just 4 ounces, so 120 milliliters, it takes about 25 seconds. If I'm doing a larger one, it's about 35. But I don't like my milk to be too hot either. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching your technique of how you were positioning it.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to do it the way you were doing the other day, because I've been doing it my own way for years, and yours just looked efficient. So I've been struggling. Can you kind of slowly just walk through, maybe with an empty pitcher, and just tell us how you position it and turn it and everything? Because I found that very helpful on your first.
Okay. Can do, no problem. So first of all, I hold my pitcher this way. It's up to you, whichever way that you feel comfortable. 3 fingers, 4 fingers, up to you. But I hold it this way. Now, if you're top view, I hold it this way. Now, the thumb, for me, I feel much more grip with the thumb touching the wall of the pitcher. Right? So I always use, you can use a thermometer, put it in, it's up to you. But I train myself by using my own hand, by touching over here, right? By touching over here as a thermometer. I don't do like this. I don't do like this because it's always extra hot at the bottom. It's not so accurate. It's much more accurate by you holding a lower bottom of this part. Yeah, it's much more accurate. So if you feel you are sensitive, you have a sensitive hand, you don't really like the heat, you don't feel comfortable, you can always do like this. Hold it and let go, hold it and let go. It's much more accurate that way. That's for me, right? I'm not so comfortable with the heat. That's why I do it this way. I hold it, let go, hold it, let go, hold it, let go. To get the temperature accurate, right? Okay.
Are the decent
so
milk jugs? Are the decent milk jugs extra sensitive towards heat? Because a lot of times you hear people say, once it feels too hot to the touch, then let go. But when I've measured it with the milk thermometer, that's usually well before 65 degrees.
Yeah, so
that really.
I can speak to that. First of all, there's a lot of studies on when people find temperatures painful, which is the UL standard is that you can't have any surface go above 50 Celsius. And generally people cannot discern temperatures above 50 on the skin. So the standard way to not use a thermometer is to keep your hand on the jug until it hurts. At that point you turn it up, you take it off, you're now at 50, and now count a number of seconds that you think it'll get from 50 to 60, right? So I've seen many videos that say count 5 seconds or 3 seconds after it hurts. What Dennis is doing is essentially the milk is here and he's putting his hands up a little higher so that there's a little bit of cooling effect. By the time he gets it, it's probably 60 because it's crept up here. It's 60 here and 50 here, and now it hurts, so he stops that. And that's totally legit if you use the same jug. The jugs are purposely quite thin so that there's not much heat latency, so that you feel the inside temperature very soon. That was on purpose.
Okay. Thanks, John. So I've tried many features. I don't think there's any difference between generic or some branded or some thick or thin to me. Because I trained myself, I make so much of coffee throughout the 8 years. I'm quite get used to it. What temperature is 57? What temperature? What it feels like to be in 55? So I started off training with a thermometer. I do not put the thermometer in, yeah, because there was a time there's no hole in all features, and usually the thermometer is huge and big and it's bulky. It's blocking. It's not like the thermometer in decent. So what I do, when I train myself, I will steam a milk. I take a wild guess. I thought it's 55. I thought it's 60. I stop at it. I turn off the steam one, and then I use the thermometer and hook it in, and just to verify it. So if let's say it's below, so next time I just need to stay a bit longer, right? Over the course like this practice, then you can use your hand and you can sense when it's 58, when it's 60, when it's 65. So that's how I train do it. In the cafe environment, there's no time. There's no time when there's 10 orders coming in, 15 orders coming in. There's no time for you to verify. So that's why I train at home. Then I make sure I go to cafe and work, and I make sure that it's 55 or 60 degrees Celsius.
Hey, Dennis. In my experience, I'm curious if you agree with this. If your milk is above 65, the taste changes permanently. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yes, I agree. It kills off the sweetness of the milk, and texture-wise, it's much more raw, in my experience. So, and the coffee is a little bit different, a little bit flat. In compare with, I personally, I drink my coffee at 50 degrees Celsius. Although the standard is 55, 60, I make myself coffee at 50. Yeah, it tastes better for me, and it's not that hot, and it pours latte art easier in compared to 55, 60. It's much more silkier in 50. It's just nice.
And Dennis, could you also show how the angle?
Okay, sure. I'll get to you right now.
The wand and the angle and switching it too, because that was interesting as well.
Okay, cool. Let me get a stick and show it to you. It's not big enough. Can you see this? Can you see this? Is that okay if I see this? Yeah. Now, just now I told you to hold this way, which is flat. For me, it's flat, right? Flat, right? Flat bottom. I don't tilt. I don't tilt like this, so it's flat. Now, just imagine this is the steam one. Steam one, right? Top view. Top view. I will just place the steam one right in the middle of the milk jug, the center point. Okay? Now, you may ask, how deep do you submerge the steam one? Is it into the bottom, or is it into right on the surface, or is it not touching the milk? There are many people asking this question, right? So the submerge of the steam one into the milk is 1.5 cm. 1.5 cm. Okay? You just submerge into the center point and submerge in the milk 1.5 cm. Now, you need to rotate to the left or right. It's up to you, right? So rotate sideways so that the milk will turn and swirl. We need that effect to get a silky textured milk. Now, once you turn on the milk, once you turn on the steam one, you turn it on, then it starts to run. First thing you need to do on the side view, because right now just imagine this is 1.5 cm in the milk jug on the side way. First thing, you turn on the steam one, you need to lower down the pitcher into 1 to 2 mm. Just like this. You barely can see it, but you can feel it. Your hand can feel it. So immediately you generate a chirping sound, the hissing sound, the sound that introduces air into the milk. That's how we generate the foam. Okay? So
sorry, I just have a question there before you go further. Do you wait for the milk to start swirling before you move down 2 millimeters, or do you not wait?
I do not wait, because the time is the main factor over here. Every millisecond counts.
So why drop it all if you're not waiting? Why not just put it in the right position before you start?
Now, we need to control how much foam we need, right? So if you drop it off just above the air, or less than 1 cm or less than half cm, what will happen is, if you turn on the steam one, immediately you generate a chirping sound. You can't control how much is it. You might end up every order or every cup of coffee is cappuccino. We do not want to have that. We need to control how many chirping sound we need. So that's why we need to stop it in at 1.5 cm. Then we can control, lower down the pitcher and generate the chirping sound. When it's done, we move up 1 to 2 mm. So the up, the down, and up, the distance is only, you move down or you move up only 1 to 2 mm. That's very minimal. Someone standing beside you, you can't really see what's happening, but they can hear the sound. You can feel it, they can't feel it, they can't see the difference, because it's just 1 to 2 mm. Right? So when it's down, you generate chirping sound, then you move up a little bit, just move up just a little bit like this to generate the swirl. Because once you've done the chirping sound, once you're aerating the air into the foam, into the milk, you generate foam, it becomes very rough. So you need to swirl, you need to swirl, and let it swirl in the pitcher, let it swirl in the pitcher, so it will smoothen the texture of the milk. In that case, it generates sweetness, it generates much more glossy, it pours latte nice. That's the whole purpose of it. And that's simple. And that's simple, and yet so many people do not understand on this part. So simple,
sometimes,
really? And doesn't make sense.
Sometimes when it's swirling, it starts to expose the tip. So I guess if that happens, put the tip in deeper?
Yes, when okay, it is the part that you think sometimes we have mistakes. I do have mistakes, even nowadays. I still have mistakes. Sometimes you go down, there's not enough, right? There's no sound, there's no chirping sound. you go down this just a little bit, 1 more mm. No chirping sound, go down 1 more mm. Until you go down, there's enough. Enough, there's chirping sound. When you chirp, done, you think that's the sound that is done. You move up, still chirps. You need to move up 1 more mm, still chirp, move up 1 more mm. That's why I told you, every millisecond counts, because the whole thing just 20 seconds or 15 or 18 seconds or 25 seconds. So you need to move fast. The more swirl, right after you're done with the chirp, the more swirl, the smoother it is. When it's smoother it is, the coffee tastes better, and you pour latte much more easier.
So Dennis, one of the things I notice is as the tip gets closer to the sidewall, the swirl goes faster and faster, but then it's going higher and higher up the sidewalls.
Yes.
And that seems like actually a lose control then.
Yes, it might spill off. That's the problem. It might spill off, right? So it's very nice to have very fast work, but then sometimes when we use another machine, when we show a completion of decent, when we show completion of whatever machine you guys are using. So when your friend invite you to their house, right? So they're using some other brands. So you start doing the same thing, but it doesn't work like the way you do not expect the way it comes out, right? So that's the thing that what you need to do, let's say you do like this. The steam pressure of other brands is way too high power, way too high pressure, right? It spins too fast, swirl too fast. So what you need to do, you just need to rotate back your pitcher, right? Little bit, not into the center, right? Beside the center. So it spins or it swirls a little bit slower. That's the contingency plan. Yeah. Hope that helps.
Hey Dennis, how about we move to your other camera and show us how you do it, and then we can come back to questions.
Okay. All right. Still have battery, right? No question. Didn't know that a lot of non. Can you guys see the camera?
We're still on the original camera. We haven't switched cameras yet. Maybe, I don't think I have to do anything.
No, just double click on his other picture.
Oh,
and
he's
then
got
it switches.
it's another login. Okay.
He's got the
Either that
second
or
one.
without
Just
audio.
double click on it, and it'll make it.
Then it's Cam 2.
Either that or sometimes the cameras hop depending on voice. So if you can speak, I guess, using the other camera's mic. I don't know.
Yeah, that probably is right.
If you just pin it, you can just pin the other camera.
Yeah, I'm trying to see it.
But for the recording, you'll want it zoomed to have autofocus.
They can pin it actually. If they press pin, right, the window will be there.
Okay, all right, cool.
I'm looking for.
Okay. The point.
Ah, good.
This center point right now, and then move sideward. Okay. So what you need to do, just press start. Go down immediately. Once done, just move up a little bit. You see the spin? Now when you spin too far, just move back right into the side of center. That's it. That's it.
Since you've got nice foam, Dennis, why don't you go ahead and pour something?
I don't have any coffee over here. I did not prepare coffee. I just made coffee just now. I have some spare one.
So one of the things I noticed, Dennis, that you did that's unusual is a lot of people, when they pour the milk in, they try to mix the crema deeply into the espresso. And whereas you poured just in like the bottom quarter at the beginning. Can you talk a bit why that is?
Do you mean my tilting of my cup? Do you mean?
No.
Do you
So
mean
when you poured the milk in before you did latte art, you had your jug moving, but if this is the jug here, you were just pouring milk into this part. Whereas I've seen people like really try to thoroughly mix the crema in.
Oh, okay. As long as it works. Now, the reason why, now the coffee just now, it was Kingsley's coffee, right? He's my apprentice. And this espresso been sitting there for half an hour. So the crema is gone. There's no more clumps because it's been sitting for quite 30 minutes, quite a while. So if let's say you just freshly make coffee, you have probably have clumps a little bit, quite thick, depends what kind of coffee beans you're using, what kind of profile you're using. So for me, what I'll do, we call that phase is called mixing. We just pour in latte art, pour in the milk a little bit away from the coffee, probably like 10 to 12 cm away. So that's to fill up the space until certain, let's say, just now I made a heart shape, so I fill until 40%, then I stop, and then I start making the heart shape. So what I'll do, the coffee, I'll just pour it right in center of the coffee, not the cup, but in center of the coffee liquid. But I do not mix it to the wall. I do not mix it around the edges. I just mix it into the center of coffee. In that way, I preserve, I try to avoid there's any overtop white foam on top, right? If you, let's say, if you mix rough, agitated, if you pour over here, it will have overtop white foam on top. That's something that we do not want. That's what we call a dirty latte art. So we try to avoid doing that, so that when we pour, it's just nice, heart shape itself, just the heart shape itself, but do not have any white dots here and white. Try to avoid any marble cake, some unnecessary white color foam on top.
So where I was going with that question is, I happen to have really worked on this issue because I've noticed some people have latte art that lacks contrast between the espresso and the milk. And I personally like a very high contrast latte art. I want to see a lot of dark with the white. And what I do when I'm pouring the milk in is I'm working to pour the milk where the dark section is not. And basically what happens is you'll see the dark try to follow wherever the milk's pouring, and I'm basically moving the milk away to try and keep the top of the espresso as dark as possible, so that when I finally do my latte art, I have really vivid contrast. Whereas seen other people try to thoroughly mix the crema in because they don't want that.
Yeah. I'm the one who thoroughly mix up the crema because I'm trying to avoid any clumps. On the clumps of crema on top of coffee. That's what I'm trying. So, but if let's say that worked for you, I'm fine. But based on my experience, I tried many beans. I tried many roasting profile. Some has a lot of clumps. Some do not. So most of them do not. But some might surprise me. So that's why I'll try not to take any chances. I just mix up everything the same way that I do. Just to minimize any dirty latte art.
I've also noticed that dark roasted coffee, I think because it's got the oils coming out of the beans, will often make latte art that looks like you have powdered chocolate in it. Like it's very dotted. And some people like that, some people don't. But I don't know how you can avoid it if you're doing use that kind of coffee bean.
Well, I think that's fine to me. That's fine to me. But the most important is whether it's clean or not. The latte art is very clean or not. So let's say there's a lot of white color washed out, or some part of the latte art is a little bit less contrast, some are not. There's something to do with the skill of the pouring.
I see. So you really want a very neutral, even canvas for your art.
Yes, neutral. It's either brown or it's white. There's no brown in between and white.
And there's no varying brownness for you.
There's no variable, yeah. So we try and do an even one. I try not to have any white dots over here, white dots over there, a little bit white island over here and there. Try to avoid that, yeah.
Okay. Let's go to some questions.
I think we have a lot of questions in the chat room, right?
We do. So I'm going to go back earlier. So the first question was, how long do you let it chirp for? I suspect it's actually rise, but can you talk to how long you let it chirp before you dive?
It depends on what kind of drinks do you make. Cappuccino, obviously, you need more chirps. Latte, right in between. Flat white, just a little bit. And this will reflect on what kind of cup do you use? What's the diameter? Right? Let's say I do the same thing. Let's say I'm so get used to this. I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to do a latte foam. I'm going to do a latte foam, but I'm going to pour in smaller diameter. Same ounce, like 6 ounce, same cup size, but in a narrower, tall glass. That will make the tall glass cappuccino, right? Because it's narrower, it's smaller diameter, and it's taller. That will take some time on learning. If let's say I see this cup, let's say I'm doing 7 ounce, wider, bigger diameter, 10 ounce, wider, bigger diameter, I need more chirps, right? So that will depend on your experience on what kind of cup, what kind of things, what kind of drinks do you make. So it's very hard to answer right now. And it depends on your experience, but slowly, if you get the hang of it, you can make you much more consistent on frothing. Then slowly you understand how much chirp is needed. For example, just now, I think I chirped like 4 or 5 seconds for this IKEA 6 ounce cup, right? For let's say at the cafe, they serve 7 ounce, I need more, probably like 7, 8 seconds of chirping. So it's very hard to tell. It depends on what kind of serving cup, what kind of drinks do you make.
So my hope with the decent jugs with having these measurement lines was that you decided how much lift you wanted. And then you start to tune how much chirping to how much lift. I mean, in general, I pour my latte art so that there's just really a little bit of thick foam on the bottom and I don't waste any milk. So I always put 6 ounces in and then it rises to like, 16 or something like that for latte art. And that's how I train myself on that. The other thing I'd say for me, and again, Dennis, I'm curious for me, those 3 drinks you just mentioned, flat white, latte, and cappuccino, the texture of the milk is quite different. With latte, it's quite, it's very creamy. With a cappuccino, it's more like a beer head. It's stiff. And with a flat white, it's almost milky, and there's maybe only like, after you pour 2 millimeters.
Thin foam. Thin foam.
Yeah. And you don't really get much latte art with a flat white style because it just doesn't have enough body to do much with. Is that true?
No, I just sent you a video on when is it? Thursday. I just shot some videos on common mistakes, which I just sent to you last night.
Yep, I'm going to post that shortly.
So I've been trying very hard to screw up the milk with your machine, I've been thinking that I trying to do a completely flat, no foam in it with your machine, but it surprised me that your machine is still able to punch in a little bit of foam.
Okay.
Right. So I've been thinking that, okay, I'm going to screw this milk up because I need to show the people how to completely do not chirp the whole steaming process, right? But then a little bit foam is aerated, but then I still can make a little bit of latte art out of it. Although it's just very thin foam, you still can make a little bit of it. So for me, there's no problem.
I see you using non-dairy milk. Can you talk about the foaming? Because I wonder if the non-dairy milk you're using has like foaming agents that make it super easy.
Like alternative milk? Mm-hmm. Do you mean alternative milk?
Yes.
Yeah. Now this is the thing. I do not try all the alternative milk in the world, right? I try Oatly, I try alternative dairy, I try some other companies. Some work, some do not. But one thing I noticed nowadays, when we want to make latte art with alternative milk, when the packaging stated barista, like Oatly, like So Good alternative milk, they will put they produce two versions of the same milk, barista version and non-barista, like the original version. So original version always can't get any foam out of it. Can't make latte art just for chilled drinks, right? But then usually when there's packaging stated barista version, I try few, it works, but it's not as good as dairy milk. It will not be. So you can make something simple like heart shape or tulip or something simple, but do not expect more than that. So that's my take on the alternative non-dairy milk.
Okay. I've had some problems with like some nut milks. If you heat them too much, they start to split. So you have to keep it cooler. And that wasn't barista milk, it was just nut milk. So the next question is, some people are saying when they first start steaming, they get some big bubbles right away. And do you want to talk about that, Dennis?
Yeah. Just I explained that just now. So when you put it into the steam one, let's say this is steam one. Let's assume this is steam one. When you put into the milk, smaller jar. Smaller jar. Let's say put in the steam one into right in center. Like I mentioned, is 1.5 cm. Just a nice number. Now, let's say you do it less than 1.5 cm. Let's say 0.5 cm. What happened is the milk and the tip is too far away. Once you turn it on, immediately it chirps so loud, it chirps so much, it produces so much of rough bubbles on top. Especially just right, the tip is just slightly touching the milk surface, not even submerged. That's what's happening. That's what happened that when you turn on the steam one, immediately you have a lot of soap bubbles on top. Like the bubbles looks like soap, That's what happened. So that's why you need to submerge the milk, steam one, into the milk around 1.5 cm to prevent that happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was going to say is start deeper. And the other thing I'd say is sometimes with a milk jug, like it'll be whirlpooling, but I have a few big bubbles that just are not wanting to get, instead of swirl, I call find.
Oh, okay.
And at least for me, what I do is I'm over here, I'll just move a little bit more to try and capture the center bubbles. Is that what you do, Dennis?
Yeah. Yes. That works as well. And another thing is that means you, on the swirl part, the steam one submerged too deep. right? Whatever you aerated at the beginning, the chirping, it generates a lot of rough bubbles on top. That's why when you submerge too deep, you swirl at the bottom, you do not swirl at the top. The top got neglected. That's why it has a lot of rough bubbles on top.
So my impression of when we're foaming is, let's say we have some milk, and then we make some foam, and if the tip is down here, it's basically heating the milk and not really foaming. And I think what we want is we want the tip to be hitting the foam on the top and shooting it down into the milk in order to make a homogeneous, almost like a mayonnaise. Otherwise, you have a separated foam and milk. And my impression of finding is that you're shooting steam into the foam layer, into the milk, in order to merge it. Is that right?
Yeah. So yes, that's correct. So that's why on the swirling part, now the chirping and the swirling part is just above, just very shallow, right? 1.5 cm. What happened that, let's say you do like this swirling part, you will swirl at the bottom, you do not swirl at the top. So the whole, when you swirl at this part, just below the surface, so below the surface, just enough, there's no chirping sound, you get to swirl the whole part of the milk, the whole jug of milk. We need, now remember this thing, we need the swirling part. The swirling part, it looks like a toilet flush. That's how I describe it. Everybody understand. So if it's not toilet flush, in fact, it's not the whole milk, the whole jug is not swirling, that means you're submerging too deep right underneath. We need to have the toilet flush. If you're not seeing the toilet flush, that means you're submerging too deep. So when you have the toilet flush, the textured milk is very glossy, it's very silky.
Hey Dennis, thank you. This is Matt from Pittsburgh, USA. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Awesome.
How are you, Matt?
I'm well. Hey, so I asked the question about the bubbles. So really what you're looking for when you start out with the steam is you really want to see that big gyre of that's
the toilet flush. The toilet flush is the key word.
No, I've been looking for that for like 20 years. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, that's great.
Appreciate that, Matt.
You know, I think one of the things that he's doing that is helping is by going in here, he's getting a steeper angle, which is then more likely. Whereas if you come in here, the angle of the wand is going like this and less likely to get a swirl.
Yeah. Now, I see a lot of newbies, they're doing this way, right? Now, if you haven't noticed, they do this way. The steam wand is not touching. The steam wand is not touching. That means you're holding the whole pictures on the air. It's very easy to mess up. If you notice just now, my camera, I'm pointing at the top view. Let me show this. The top view, I'm doing like this. Steam wand, go in against the tip. Then you turn sideways. It's very hard for me to angle it. Turn sideways. So I always lean my picture with the steam wand. So you have less worry on, am I too high, am I too low, am I front, am I forward, am I rear, am I forward? So you have less of worry. So I always stick the steam wand leaning against the steam tip. That's my way of doing it. Okay.
Dennis, I've got an alternative technique that I do that I don't know if it works well, but I find that moving up and down 2 millimeters, that's really very hard. Now, I agree with you, anchoring to the wand helps, but instead what I'll do is I'll anchor one position and just make slight angle changes, and that seems to cause the chirping and stop the chirping. Have you tried that? Does that cause bad problems?
Yeah. Some people, they do like this, right? Start off by doing this, then they tilt, then they doing this. As long as it works. As long as it works for you, it's fine. But my way of doing it is much more easier to understand. There's a logic behind everything I do. There's a reason behind. So as long as it works, whatever you do, it's fine. Then it's okay. But if it doesn't, then go ahead and try mine. No harm trying mine, right?
So Nils asks, he's heard that you should stop chirping at 22 Celsius. When I was learning, Scott Ray had told me 30. I mean, it seems that you do your chirping at the beginning and then you stop it pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Do you mean Fahrenheit just now?
No, so 30 Celsius is what I was told. This person's saying 22 Celsius. So, you know, really fast, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds of chirping, and then you're done.
Yeah, yeah. So it depends on what kind of machine you're using. Depends on what kind of steam pressure, kind of steam profile you're using, the setting. Based on my experience, every machine do it differently. Rocket require like 10 seconds of chirping, or else you'll be like, you know, disastrous. So for some other milk as well, like Oatly requires a lot of chirping just to produce enough for latte foam. Yesterday I just did the Hoffman style donut coffee. That requires so many chirps and it's so flat, it's still flat. So it really depends on your first try and error, then you get to figure out. I can't really answer all sort of milk over the world. I've not tried all of them. But then based on experience on some milk, it works this way. Some milk require more chirping and some machine also require more chirping, right? I'm not sure whether single pinhole and 3 pinholes, it behaves differently as well.
I heard you chirped until what I do is until when I feel it on my hand, the temperature is about the temperature of my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So it warms up to about hits equilibrium and then I stop. So it's probably about 5-6 seconds. It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Are you happy with the results?
yes, but I struggle a little bit, and this is why I'm listening, because I sometimes do more cappuccino style. I'm trying to get more to latte.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I'm just trying to learn how to do it a little bit less, but still have a little bit of texture.
Okay. Just remember this. Okay, I understand, David. Thank you. Just remember this magical phrase. I'm about to talk to you. If you have a pen, you need to jot it down, right? If you have a pen, you need to jot it down, or else you just need to write it down. Now, what I did just now, what I taught you all, put it in, move down picture 2 mm for chirping. When it's done, you move up picture for swirling. Is that correct? So I want to summarize it, and you remember in your mind that pictures down for foam, pictures up for swirl. Pitches down for foam. That means you generate chirping, right? When it's done, enough. You think it's enough. Today, I feel I want to have a flat white. I just need a little bit chirp. When it's enough, pitch up or swirl. Today, I feel I want to have a cappuccino. Pitch it down for foam. Stretch longer. I feel like it's done. I feel like it's cappuccino right now. Pitch it up or swirl. Magical phrase and simple, very simple. I hope you understand that. There's picture down for foam, picture up for swirl. There's no other sequence, right? You can't picture up for foam first, picture down for foam. No. Picture down for foam, picture up for swirl. Simple instruction.
Does anyone want to try foaming live on Zoom and get any feedback on what you're doing?
Yeah. Are you guys prepared? Your camera angle and stuff?
Everyone's laughing.
Nobody's trying?
I mean,
Shy?
that is so frightening, but my gosh.
Hey, Dennis, could you have your assistant make an espresso or two so you can do some pours?
Okay. Right here. Can I use training beans?
Yeah, sure. We're not tasting it over Zoom.
I'm going to use training beans right now. It's very watery. I hope you all. Yeah, put the pitcher in and the milk in the freezer. Milk in chiller, not in the freezer. But yeah, if you one more tip, just now someone mentioned that if you want to have a extra silky milk, you want texture extra silky and glossy. You can try to put your empty pitcher in the fridge, in the freezer, like whenever you're not using. Whenever you want to use it, then you start to fill up the milk with the frozen pitcher. That will work. That will make you have some extra longer duration of steaming process, so that as I mentioned just now, the more you swirl, the much more silky it is, much more tasty it is. I can put 15 right basket. Yeah, they use that.
I'm going to be a guinea pig. I hopefully the camera angle is going to work. So I'm going to make an espresso.
Yeah, I can see you. I can see you. Yeah.
Great.
Especially lying like this.
By the way, this is super awesome. I think in the last 20 minutes or so, I've learned more about all the things I do wrong than in the last 1,000 espressos that I've poured.
So, yeah, I understand that. I've been there before, Neil. I've been there before. That's why I started this coffee school. That's why I've written the book. I've been there before. I was struggling for a very long time. I was struggling to pour a heart shape for my first 4 weeks. I can't pour a heart shape on my first 4 weeks. I remember I drink like 3 cups of coffee a day.
Very recognizable. I've got while people are working on this, I've got the challenge that out of every 2 cappuccinos that I pour in the morning, one will work out just fine. I mean, the latte art will be too much to one side.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm grinding over here. I can't really hear your. Can I get back to you? Can I give me 1 minute right after we prep the espresso? Come back to your news, okay?
Perfect.
One thing I've started doing here at the end is just doing this motion at the end, just to have the center a little less high. And
see, Matthew, you've got to get one of those really nice.
I've muted myself there. So sorry, I'll say it again, is what I've been doing at the end, just practicing this, just seeing if I like it, is just like 3 concentric circles in the center there, which is basically giving me less coffee in the center. And then what happens is the start, you'll see, ends up being more even. I don't know if that's making better coffee or it's just making a prettier start.
David, I 100% agree with you. It looks awesome.
Yeah, the Cafetech single needle, I've got that, but it doesn't do as well as those multi needles. No. Honestly, it's well worth it.
I'm gonna make a move here shortly. This is just great. Dennis, John, everybody, thank you. This is really mind-blowing.
All right, I'll just do. I have 2 cups of coffee, training beans. Bear with me. It's a very watery espresso. The beans is stale. So, but most importantly, I just do some latte art with it. Okay. And also, bear with me, I can, with this angle, I can only do something very basic, because if let's say I'll do something advanced, intermediate, I'll be running out of camera, I'll be away from camera. So it's a very small space right now, the camera, and the focus is very small. So that's why I can just stick to that and do something basic, all right? Okay, I see what I can do,
Here's another tip that I've heard for beginners that want to practice latte art but don't want to waste a lot of milk doing it. Is what you can do is you could take water and put in dishwashing detergent, mix that in, and then use that to practice your swirls and getting the bubbles.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Oh.
So what I'll do, I'll just need to have swirl a little bit, knock off the bubbles on top. I always swirl a little bit because right now I don't, because it's watery. But let's say it's a fresh cappuccino, I will swirl on the coffee before I pour. You can see.
Awesome.
Yeah, there you go. I very like Rosetta because it's training beans and steel. Yeah.
I'm ready if you, I've got milk and an espresso, so before it starts to get stale, if you can hopefully,
Okay.
before I start.
Yeah, we can see you, John.
Okay, so there's my milk jug. I always use a thermometer because I don't like pain. So I tap it in. And can you confirm that you can see everything? Yeah, it's not great, is it? You can't really see.
Wonderful.
Is it?
Yeah, we can see
Great.
you.
Actually, very good.
Okay, this is an XL, so this is a single hole XL. There's nothing there. So if I put the milk tip in, you can see the milk tip is in?
Not quite.
I didn't think so. Okay, so let me try and fix that without without stuff going.
Don't hurt yourself.
I mostly don't want to hurt my laptop. All right, that is countersunk, so that's not moving.
I see a project coming up, John.
Oh, I have
It's actually
an assistant coming.
John, the angle was pretty good. We just couldn't see the tip, but it was very, very good.
All right.
Alright, I won't be able to see anything.
Well, it'll be on the camera.
Or do you want me to tip the camera here?
Yeah. So lift up the laptop,
Oh, here we go.
and let's see. All right, not over there. Can you?
No. Hang on. Tell me when it's good.
That looks.
Oh, dear.
That looks really good.
Spectacular.
Okay, so I have the thermometer in because this is how I work. So I go halfway in and then halfway there. Is that right, Dennis? So I basically, there I go, and then halfway.
Yeah, the position is correct, but you need to submerge your steam tip a little bit further down.
Okay.
1.5 cm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go like that. Now,
Yeah.
usually what I do,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it the way I normally do it, so you can criticize me. I usually let the swirl
Yes.
start before I
Okay.
expose it. Okay, now the swirl started. Now
Yeah.
I get
Yep.
some chirping.
Picture down for foam.
Okay, and you can see I have some big bubbles there. And now that's all
Yep.
the foam I'm gonna basically get. And now I'm gonna submerge it slightly. And I've moved the pitcher a little bit to the tip to the center to try and get those center bubbles. But I still have those center bubbles that are just not complying. Okay, now I can tap those out, but I would love them not to be there. Okay, so for reference, that was 28 seconds. Now I'm not gonna cheat. I'm gonna show you, you can see there's a few bubbles there in the center that are big.
It's acceptable, John.
Okay.
It's acceptable. It's nice and acceptable.
Okay, so typically I'll then tap
Yeah.
and, oop. All right, so I'm gonna try and do a pour here. So I do a little
Okay.
spin like that, just,
Yes.
and then I'll show you what I'm doing here is I'm trying to avoid mixing it all in. I'm trying to keep that top dark. Okay, and that I have nice contrast there. Now, you would probably call that dirty. Now I made it lopsided there by accident.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's nice.
it's okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I get it all the time.
I think now I've got too thick stuff. And then because I hate wasting milk, after I make my latte art, I do that. Because I'm just practicing.
And then you give it to me.
And I do that on mine, not the one for Bugs. She gets the pretty one. So was that okay what I did there, or what would you suggest for improvements?
No. Okay. On the surface of the milk, on the surface of your coffee, is a little bit of uneven. Like there's a little bit less brown.
Because I didn't
brown,
mix it.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, I try to, on mixing part, before we land any latte art on top, I try to mix with little bit less agitated. Let's say this is coffee surface, right? Let's say this is a coffee surface. So let's say this is espresso in your cup. I try to do the mixing right over here, where the deepest of the depth. I'll move left and right, just like that. Or I can move round, it's up to you. But I'll try not to do like this. It's fast, the motion is too agitated, and it breaks up the coffee not so even. So that's why I'll just do like this, or go round. Bit more gentle. John, need to be more gentle to the coffee.
So the other thing is that on this video, I tried to do what you did, which is not that much chirping. And generally, I find I don't have enough foam, but to pour with the 350. But if I were to pour that into my 600 jug right then, I would have had enough foam. In other words, pouring with the 350, I need more foam.
I think that's because of that's because of your 600 ml, the big jug.
Yes.
It's you can lower down a bit lower. So what you can do, just try to chirp more on your steaming, next steaming. And I can tell a little bit flat on your coffee just now, just a little bit. But
what do you mean by flat? Like I need more chirping, or what does flat mean?
You need more chirping. Then flat means it's a little bit less foam. It's a little bit running on the foam.
So
there's more chirping.
What I usually do, I've got. This is not the right glass, but I like to use glasses when I'm doing latte art because afterwards I can see how much foam I had. And it just gives me an idea of how successful I was at achieving the same foam.
Yeah.
And when I steam two 600, like 600, and then I pour it in 350, and I do two glasses. I then pour the latte art into 2 glass drinks, and I never succeed at having the same foam depth on the 2 glasses. One always has more than the other by a lot.
Yeah. You were steaming 2 servings in the big jug, and you split it, right? So did you spin your big jug right after you steam?
Maybe.
And before you split the milk?
Okay.
So that's what happened. Let's say you steam with 2 servings, and then you do not spin or you do not swirl the big jug before you split the milk.
Okay.
That's why you get one is more foam, one is not.
Because it's separated?
Uneven. Yeah, so.
Okay, so always swirl the jug before you pour into the next one.
Before you split. Before you split, yeah.
Okay.
That's something I do.
Anything else that my Olympic coach can tell me to improve my sport?
No, you have to make more coffee, that's all.
Yeah. I'm not, obviously, I needed to pour that into a 600, and I also needed to make more foam. That was more like a flat white foam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably your single pinhole behaves differently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I were less nervous and not on camera, I would probably have foamed more. But hey, you know, I've done a bad job, so now someone else can come on and do a better job and fear less.
Okay.
Anyone game?
Any more questions before? What else you want me to talk about?
Well, I think I'm not sure I want to go into types of latte art yet. I think that could be another call.
Okay.
So the one thing, you and I had a conversation recently, which I really liked, about spouts. And if you could just repeat that, I'm just holding two different spouts. So here I've got a triangular spout. This was a decent spout, a decent prototype. This is a competitor's one with a wider mouth. And you said one was appropriate for different kinds of latte art.
Understand. If you follow my Instagram, I've been using a lot of different features. So I do not believe there's one feature can make all sorts of latte art. I do not believe in that. So that's why each of every features, a design of features has its own. Can you write that in Instagram on the chat on my Insta IG? So I believe every design of a spout is meant for a purpose. So there's no lousy one, there's no good one, which one is better than which one. I don't believe in that personally. So let me explain to you why I say so. Let me pull away all those the balance milk I had.
Hey, Hamed, I see you're almost ready, so we'll come to you as soon as Dennis finishes this question.
Sounds good, John. Just getting ready.
So, I've been using this, which is a decent milk jug, ultra sharp. If you have a local beer, it's very sharp. Now, that's sharp, okay? Now, there's another one, the less sharp. A little bit broader, this is the regular one. Regular one, yeah? A less broader, a less sharp, regular spout, okay? There's another one, broad, a bit roundish. There's another one, we call this Starbucks style feature. Almost no spout. This is currently one of my favorite right now. Now, let me explain. Spout, ultra sharp. Garbage can. It's a bucket. It's very nice to pour. Believe me, it's really nice to pour once you get a hang of it. Now, this is meant for a complex latte art. If you want to make, let's say, 3 rosettas in the cup. Let's say you want to make a unicorn. Let's say you want to make a seahorse in the cup. This is the thing that you go to. It's very sharp and very light. Usually it's very light. Decent is very light. This one is very light. And it's nice to hold. It's nice to hold and it's nice to wiggle. Especially when you want to do 3 rosettas in a single cup. Okay? Ultra sharp is the way to go. Okay, this is the versatile one. Just now you guys saw I pour heart shape, I pour rosetta, I pour whatever with this, right? Because it enables me to pour a quite decent, regular, solid latte art, and quite okay with fine lines, latte art with lines, like wing heart, like rosetta, or wing tulip. This is the way to go. Decent still can make a decent job, right? But let's say if I want to make a big tulip with this one, can't really do the job. You can, but you have to pour extra fast flow. But this one, much more easier. I just pour out easily, the whole latte art, the whole tulip will just wrap up, right? With this regular spout. Now, but some other things, this cannot do. if I want to make a broad latte art with wing wrapping up the head, like the whole Rosetta is round shape. It doesn't look like fern leaf. It looks like a round shape, the heart wrapped up. Is the way to go, the broad one. But let's say you want to use this to pour a complex latte art, or if I want to use this to pour a complex latte art, I can't. Heavier, broad tip, always pour fast flow. I can't really control it. This can control slow flow. This always pour out fast. This is meant for a fat, thick Rosetta or slow Zeta, right? Is the way to go. Now, this one is the legend. This is the legend. I fell in love with this one, but definitely can't pour lines with this one. Can't really pour because it's way too thick. The pouring flow rate is always fast. Yeah. Always fast. But then there's one good thing. I pour the fat, big fat Rosetta much better than this in compare with this one. Because it's thicker. This is broad. This is broad, right? The silver color, this is broad. But this is way broader. Right? And in compare with both, I can't pour anything fat with this one. I can only pour a very detailed, very sharp latte art, very contrast latte art with this user. Right? That's why it's meant for. You want me to use the bucket to pour? I have that in the video, in my Instagram and in Decent's Instagram.
So when I did that competition milk jug, I didn't know anything about latte art, and I didn't expect to, because I got a bunch of competition latte artists on my base camp, and they all wanted a precision brush for doing competition style latte art, stuff that you win contests on. So not Rosettas, but unicorns and fairies and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, complex latte art, right?
So, and I agree with you that if you want to do a Rosetta that spreads out, it's just not going to happen with the decent competition jug.
Yeah, that's why I don't really believe in one fits all. I can't. And when I see other people are pouring nice latte, how come mine cannot pour? Sometimes you have to think about this. It's not about your skills. It's about the instruments they're using. Right? That's why there's so many types of cars. The four-wheel drive, the truck, the sedan, there's compact. It's meant for different purpose. It's just like our pictures. It's meant for different purpose as well. So let me steam and let me try on this one. And I'll get back to you. I already have one more shot in my espresso already done. So I'll just need to steam some milk. Huh? It's not cool anymore, man.
There we can see it. It's great.
So Dennis, you're going to steam in the smaller and dump into the monster, correct?
It's not too watery, man. The shot is too watery. Doesn't have any resistance.
Great.
No, I mean, no contrast. It's just too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So as you can see, not really doing good job because it's not concentrated enough, the liquid, right? Doesn't show a good contrast because it's training beans, it's stale beans. So the effect of this bucket, it will wrap up, like the whole thing, the whole Rosetta will just be in round shape. If let's say there are more contrast, much more concentrated, fresh coffee beans produce much more contrast. You can see there are leaves underneath the heart shape. But this, unfortunately, we can't see properly.
Dennis, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So with the bigger bucket, do you get a higher velocity of milk hitting the
yeah,
that pushes that out and gives you the like?
It's not really the bucket itself. It's a design of the tip.
I understand the tip, but it's really pushing more milk into the coffee. The velocity spreads it out, pushes it out towards the edges. It's not really kind of.
Yes, and it has a smaller size, right? It has, this is 1 liter. It has a 500 ml.
Yeah.
It doesn't work the same. Although it's the same, diameter is smaller, everything is smaller, but then it doesn't have the effect of what I want. And this is medium size. It has another 1.5 liters.
Wow.
Starbucks are using 1.5 liters. This is 1 liter, mini size of the Starbucks.
This is
like huge, like almost a garbage can, like you say.
I don't know about it. It's pretty awesome.
So Dennis, we've got two people. We've got Michael Frick. We've got Michael Frick and Hamed, who are both set up. So Hamed, are you still there? Your camera's off, so I don't know if you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
So we're going to switch to Hamed, but your camera's not currently on. So.
Yeah. Okay. Hi Dennis, how are you? It's actually cool. I had just purchased your book actually last week, and I wasn't expecting this Zoom session, and then I was really surprised and happy to see John put this together. So thanks, guys. Okay.
Okay. See what you got.
What I basically struggle with is getting enough foam, it seems, but let's see. Okay, so I'm going here.
Is this single pinhole or is it triple?
Yeah, a single.
Okay. I put it submerged a bit more.
A bit more, okay.
Yeah, there you go. Down for foam, Hamed. Yeah, you need that. All right, up for swirl. You need to lower down a little bit, Hamed. The steam one. Yeah, the picture, yeah. Now it's spinning. Lower down a bit more. Yep. Almost there. Yep. Looks good though. Looks good. So what you need to do is just need to knock off those bubbles on top and swirl like a wine. I mean, swirl like yeah, that's the way it is, yeah.
Okay, this coffee it's not the greatest coffee. It's been sitting here for a while, and it's not the best.
Okay, let's do it.
So,
tilt down the cup a little bit lower. The cup, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Go ahead, yeah. Go a bit faster. Yeah, more. All right, show me what you have. A heart shape? Go ahead. Yep.
Not that great.
Okay. But it's acceptable. You just got your machine, right, Ahmed?
Yeah. I'm pretty new at this.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I will suggest to you, Ahmed, you use this kind of cup, round bottom cup, to pour.
Okay, that'll make a big difference. Okay.
Yeah, that will make a huge difference.
In terms of the texture of the milk, do you think that was okay, or do you think I need more?
I think it's okay though. I think it's okay based on the pictures over here. I think it's fine though.
Okay.
You just need to punch in a little bit more foam. You just need to make more chirping, just a little bit more. Yeah.
It seems like you had trouble getting the whirlpool started, the swirl started, until you moved the jug down, and then you got a really nice whirlpool going. So I thought Dennis guiding you toward that was better. If you could get that whirlpool going sooner, probably that would help.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Perfect. Thanks, guys.
That's nice.
So Hamed has.
Oh, and I'm sorry. One last thing. I think you were just a bit scared and poured quite slowly. I mean, I'm one to say it because I screwed up too. But that's what it seemed like, is you were pouring the milk too slowly at the beginning, and then when you did your latte art, you were just a bit timid, so just a bit more there. And Dennis was kind of encouraging.
You need to pour faster, Hamed. Yeah, that's what you're trying to tell, right, John? You need to pour a bit faster flow. Awesome. Don't be scared.
Okay. Good tips. Great tips.
I think you can just, the way you hold the cup as well, the way you hold the cup. Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Right-handed, right? So you need to hold the pitcher with the right-handed,
right?
Your right hand, okay? And you hold your cup with the ear facing you, 6 o'clock.
Right.
All right. So because you're going to pour this way.
Right.
So you need the latte art is facing you. You use the right hand and hold it and drink. The drinker sees the latte art.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. Make sense?
Yeah.
So that's a good tip for you.
Excellent.
So you need to go buy this cup. Amen.
Yeah.
It boosts up your confidence level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're able to pour nice latte, it boosts up your confidence. Your whole day is bright. Your whole day is good.
Yeah. You're right. Definitely.
Thanks, Ahmed.
Michael Frick, are you still around and set up?
Do we have more?
Michael was set up. Michael Frick.
That $20 cup. That cup, because this cup is like. Give me some.
Okay, let's do it.
Sorry, this is upside down.
Okay, sideways. Okay, all right, start. Down for foam. Is there any chirping sound? Okay, when it's done, just up for swirl, a little bit only. Yeah, looks good though. Looks good. Looking great. It's glossy. Glossy. Yeah, it's nice. Is there enough foam? Can you pour? Can you pour latte art?
You see.
Just don't worry. We won't laugh, okay? We won't laugh.
I'm laughing myself. It's fine.
Yeah, don't worry. You deserve a try.
Yeah. Already have.
Okay, go and try.
You're saying.
Yeah. This is fair.
Shaky hands right now.
Yeah. Is that the way you normally do on your milk? Is that glossy?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that is
good.
Normal.
That's normal. That's nice. So you need to. Do you prefer that way? Do you prefer to have least foam, or you prefer to have much more foam?
That's usually what I'm. Sorry. Hurting.
Okay.
That's where I'm normally.
Drink.
I've got two. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth between like a flat white and a latte, and it's. I would say half the time it's just based on whatever amount of foam I got out.
Okay, if you're happy with that, then it's fine. If your friends, if you have any guests to come to your house and they order, I don't want to have so much foam, I need to have, it's fine. But if you have a friend who only drinks cappuccino, I love cappuccino, I love less milk, I love foam, you know, then you have to punch in it, do more chirping sound.
Okay.
Yeah, just do more chirping sound, right? Another tip for you, I see most of people, there's no wrong on it. If you want to make a solid latte art, now let's assume this is, let's assume this is the liquid, right? The coffee, right? Let's assume this is the coffee, okay? This is a coffee. Can you see that? There's a milk inside.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we need to, when we mix the coffee, right, until a certain level, when you start blending a latte art, right, you need to, this is especially for the solid pattern, you need to have the liquid is almost touching, almost spill out. Then only you go down and pour in the latte art. Much more contrast that way. So you need to have your tip that way. The tip is able to go nearest of the coffee surface and pour a nice contrast of latte art. Now most people, they are scared. They leave some space. Show you how. On this. Give me a minute, Mike. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Michael, I was just going to say one thing. In my experience, I mean, your foam looked great to me. And in my experience, if I transferred that to a 600 jug, it would have worked perfectly. So if you've got a bigger jug around, just try it. I thought everything you did looked good. You had the whirlpool right away. The chirping looked good. You had no big bubbles. I mean, it was just awesome. I just think bigger jug.
The reason behind, can you open that?
You mute that.
Mute that because I don't want to have interference.
On any.
The reason behind is because you need to have the spout of the milk pitcher able to touch or go nearest to the coffee surface like that, right? So that. So if not, if you leave some space, you're scared. You're buying insurance, right? You're scared. What happened is it's too far away. That means there's no contrast. The contrast of your heart shape, the contrast of your latte art will be lesser. Especially if you want to do solid latte art.
Okay.
Do that. Okay, you got me, Mike?
Yeah. That was
so
great.
That means you have to tilt down a little bit more, before you land a latte art. All right. There you go. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your courageous
Thank you.
showing.
I'm going to wrap it up. We're almost at 2 hours, and it's been a really good one. I'm really happy some of you had the courage to show us trying to do it, because that helps everyone else who sees what they do, and those of you who try it. And thank you for Dennis for giving us some of your morning, and hope to see you all again. After we all have perfected foaming, we can ask Dennis to do a class on latte art patterns. Okay?
Yeah, cool. Up for it.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Let's do it again, John.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.